So I'm here with Al Harris, who's a member of the World Commission on Protected Areas. And Al, you've been talking to us about the 6th mass extinction. What does that mean for the world?
This morning I was speaking about how I feel that scientific research expeditions that are looking at biodiversity now have another reason to get out there and study habitats and species, because we are now living in what's been coined the midst of the 6th mass extinction event of the history of the Earth. Rates of species loss are, I'm told, over 100 times greater than they've been at any time in the history of the Earth, as we know through the fossil record. And there's a lot of alarming numbers that are out there looking at how quickly different groups of species are disappearing. We learn that about 30% of amphibians are in danger of extinction, 23% of mammals and about 12% of birds are in imminent danger of extinction.
And you've seen evidence of the amphibious loss through your work as a founder of Blue Ventures off the coast of Madagascar.
Well, my work is exclusively marine. I'm a tropical marine ecologist, so all of my work's been looking primarily at invertebrates, looking at corals, and it's in parts of the Indo-Pacific province, which is the Indian Ocean, the Pacific Ocean and the Southeast Asian archipelagos that join them. There's been loss of up to 80% of corals at some habitats, yeah.
Hearing all that bad news about the state of the planet, I mean, there's a danger that for some budding expeditioners, they'll be thinking, well, the problems are so great, what possible difference can I make if I'm an undergraduate student, if I'm going to go off on a single 1, 2 or 3 month expedition? I mean, can expeditions run by undergraduates really make a difference?
Absolutely. These problems require management. Managing species loss depends on understanding what's happening, depends on understanding what's there, what trends there are and how things are changing, in what trajectory and what direction. And that depends on data. Fundamentally, many of these problems that we're facing, be they situations where the populations of sea fish are disappearing because of overfishing, or habitats are being degraded by deforestation or unsustainable exploitation, we just don't know what's happening. So expeditions can play a crucial role in gathering that baseline data, but I think nowadays it's increasingly important for expeditions not just to do the research, but to also work with partners in translating that research into some kind of tangible output that can be used to advise management.
And those partners are people back in the developed world, or might they be in the developing world at the places where the studies are taking place?
These problems are ubiquitous, developing world and developed world, all over the world. I mean, we're seeing the manifestations, for instance, of climate change and habitat degradation as much in the west and the north as we are in the developing world in the south. From my experience, it's generally the partners that I refer to, and my partnerships have always been with developing world institutions that have a critical lack in capacity to carry out this kind of work themselves, and that's where expeditions, from my experience, biological and scientific research expeditions, can fill a major gap.
And is there a way for expeditions to go into the field, do a research project, be it in a mountainous, a wetland, forest, marine environment, but also build bridges with those communities so that they can benefit from the knowledge that's been acquired during the course of the expedition?
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely, I think that's touching on what I was talking about earlier, in that now we simply don't have the luxury or the option, indeed the right, to just carry out research. We have to engage local partners, communities, stakeholders that depend on these resources. Because fundamentally the biological problems that we're talking about come back to human problems. Subsistence communities invariably depend on these habitats for their livelihoods all over the world. So these biological problems, what started off as biodiversity loss, is now manifesting itself as a huge socioeconomic problem in terms of resource security for people that depend on these natural resources that are being so heavily degraded. So expeditions have a duty, in my opinion, to feed that data, feed that information back to the communities that they're working within.
Overall, do you feel pessimistic about the bleak picture which all the data is painting for us at the moment, or do you feel hope that the next generation of expedition leaders, geographers, scientists, led by people like yourself, can help to at least stem the tide?
You might not notice it, but I am actually an optimist. I mean, we have a huge number of incredible choices and opportunities to get involved at a very much a grassroots level in development. The challenge has never been greater. But neither have the opportunities that we have, neither have the technologies, neither have the means with which we can disseminate information. We live in such an interconnected, socially networked, internet-empowered age that we can get the information out far quicker and with much greater efficiency at much lower cost than any time in human history. So we have such a lot of resources available to us now as explorers. We can be desktop explorers now. I mean, the whole concept of exploration has changed. You can carry out research in tropical habitats using satellite data at your desktop. I mean, the whole concept of exploration has been turned on its head, and our efficiency and ability to affect change in response to some of these challenges is, I think, unprecedented.
So exploration for the masses is now a reality, whereas a century ago it was often for the privileged few.
Absolutely. It's not about travel anymore, although travel is obviously commonly a major part of it. It's more about people, it's about the reality, it's about working with people to manage some of these changes that we're seeing around us.